Well, welcome to another American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I'm Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and this is Roscoe the Pug. And today we're going to inspire you to get your students writing. And you might say, wow, it's really difficult to get students to want to write, but we know some great things that are very, very motivating, especially this cutie here, who I use a lot to motivate my students to write. I have him now, I take a lot of pictures of him and videos, and that kind of gets the kids interested. So we're going to show you how to get your students to write, whether they be very, very young, like 4 years old, all the way to 80 years old. So Roscoe's going to say bye for a little bit. He got a little hurt. That could always be a writing prompt. You can kind of see there he got a little hurt, but now he's much better. We're here every Friday. You can get a certificate for attending. And now we're offering a free ASL Tech course. If you are registered with American TESOL, you get a certificate, an official certificate from American TESOL, which is recognized by, college programs, universities. So it's a very, very good thing to have. And I believe that anyone can join, but if you're not part of American TESOL, you won't be able to get this certificate for the tech course. But you're more than welcome to go do the task. And you always get a certificate of participation with the webinars. You also learn a lot during the process. And you can, of course, come every Friday, and we'll be here as well. So when we're thinking about writing and inspiring students to write, this is just kind of quick things. So there's going to be lots and lots of tools that I share at the end. So when you actually get the slides, they're going to be double the amount because we only have 30 minutes here because we want to make them short. But also there's lots and lots of resources out there. There's literally hundreds. And that's my focus, is I get students to write. And so I've been working with learners in over 25 countries, from 2 years old all the way to 80 years old. And the thing about it is that when we ask students to write, and in every topic, every subject, you have writing. It's something that's really important, and a skill to learn. And this, I just got news. I'll be working with university students. I'll get my own classroom of students. I'm very excited. But a lot of my students are the ones that were never really taught the process of writing. And it's very difficult when students write because we're asking them to share a part of themselves, their thinking, their problem solving, their creativity, their ideas, their soul. Because every time you write, you always put a piece of yourself. There's no avoiding that. Even if your students just quickly write, even if they jokingly write, even if they do something sarcastically, they're sharing a piece of themselves. And so when you think about it in the classroom setting, it's all these strangers, and some of them are their peers that pick on them. And so it's really kind of, we're asking them a lot. We're asking a lot from them. So we need to kind of think of it in that perspective. It's not necessarily that students don't want to write. It's not that they're lazy. It's that it's just kind of a very, very difficult process, and it asks a lot. So it's important that when we're teaching students to write, that we create this safe environment. And what the safe environment means, and we're not going to go over all the little details, but teaching peer editing, how to correctly, if they're writing blogs, how to make an effective, and how to criticize, and how to offer feedback and constructive feedback in a positive way, and even how to accept that, how to accept criticism. That's very important that we teach our students. And it's good that we put them as part of a conversation, so we don't just list a bunch of items like, okay, we should be nice and things. Actually, we should ask students. We should, at the beginning, have a conversation, ask each of them to come up with ideas, maybe even a project, because when you get them involved and they're the ones saying, oh, well, we can create good peer feedback by not adding cuss words or something like that. Even if they say something like that, we should accept it because it's coming from them. If we tell them, they're not going to do it. Also, it's important that we teach our students to respect each other, and also to get along. How different pieces of writing can really help each other, and how it's great to have differences, how it's great to have different kinds of writing. And someone might be really funny and someone might be really intellectual, how all of those work to really frame our mind. Because if we see something that's different than our writing, then that's actually the things that we are most surprised by, shocked, and dislike are actually would get our minds to think the most. So it's important we teach that at the beginning. It's important to teach the process of writing, graphic organizers, how to start, how to brainstorm. If I always give my students at least 2 to 5 minutes in every single lesson. I write that in my digital book, Learning to Go. How we should always give them 2 to 5 minutes. Right. I'm not saying it's okay for kids. I'm saying like students say it's not right to use cuss words. Sorry. Thanks for asking that, Peggy. Um, but it's important that we have students uh, also come into the writing process and are able to really understand the steps. And the only reason, the way they're going to know the steps is if we get them practicing the process. So I always give about 2 minutes to 5 minutes in every lesson for them to brainstorm, whether it just be writing in paper, whether it be doing visual mapping, whether it be concept mapping, whether it's with a small group and they're brainstorming. So it's really important to teach all of those. And then the process of actually framing an argument or writing a news brief or writing a script for a podcast, we can make it a ritual. So I try to integrate some form of writing. I give at least 5 minutes for them to be able to do some kind of practice writing every single time they walk in the classroom. And one of the ways that I do that is I give them, they have ongoing journals. I collect them every other Friday. And so it's really good for me for classroom management, because as soon as they walk in, they see the prompt, or they see the prompt on a big projector now, digital prompts. And I'll show you some of those. But the great thing is that they understand the ritual. Exactly. You don't have to give directions every time. Plus, they know. They get trained to where they walk in the room, they sit down, and they write it. They have those 5 or 10 minutes to write down. And you get a peace of mind too, because you're not yelling at students, right, or things like that. And if they don't do it, then it's homework. So that's why. And then I also sometimes put timers, so that way it's kind of these psychological things. If you have a timer, you see a time going on the board, a big timer, all of a sudden you just are quick to do things. So all of these work quite well. Integrating technology and multimedia, like I was saying, you don't have to have something that is just completely where they have, and of course they can always go home and correct it. So it's not like you're pressuring them. They're not going to get a grade there, by the way, when they're being timed and things like that. That's so that way you can move on to the next activity. When you integrate technology and multimedia, you don't, a lot of times I don't have computers for every, or iPads. In some situations I've had that. But most of the time, it's me, my laptop, and it's my projector. So what I do is on the projector is where I'll integrate the technology and multimedia. So if they have their own devices, whatever it is, they're able to see the writing prompt, they're able to see the timer, they're able to create a class story together, and we see it in real time. Give them an audience. These days, I think it's really important to have students either blog, publish digital storybooks. I'll show you some really great, easy ways to do that. Publish a comic. They don't even have to put their face on it. There's a lot of sites where they can have characters, they can add their voice, and their voice will be mixed match. So there's a lot of things they can do. And it's important to change it up. So every Friday, or the last day of the writing, they get to choose what their own topic will be, whatever they want to write. And then every other day, I make a different one too. I don't always have them write the same essays, 3-paragraph essays. Sometimes they're writing a comic, they're writing dialogue in a comic. Sometimes they're writing a news brief. Sometimes they're writing a tweet. Sometimes they're writing a Facebook status. And all of that's important. One of the ones that I really like following on Facebook is the Grammarly site. And you see a lot of memes that they put up there, but they're always sharing how grammar is so important, whether it be a text conversation. And the thing is that it helps students A lot of times what I'll do too is I take the rubric, whatever it is that's on the test, and that's what I grade them from. So it used to be 6-point writing for the SATs. And then it also helps them with their tests. It's actually drilling them for their tests because you can take some of the writing once a week. Yeah, exactly. That uses 6 traits writing rubric. But whatever it is for your standardized test, whatever test they're taking, you can always add one of those prompts, those writing or reading, each as one of their journal entries too. So you can definitely prepare them for tests this way as well. Sometimes I play music and I just say, write what soundtrack would this belong to, or write the opening scene to whatever this movie is. So that's what I mean by change it up as well. Or take them outside and say, you have 10 minutes today. We're outside. It's a beautiful day. Write in your journals. And it doesn't even have to be a digital journal, or they can take iPads or Chromebooks outside and write. So that's very cool. So let's talk about the process. So let's brainstorm. What are some great tools for brainstorming? Well, I do this all the time. So I have actually created some rubrics for this, and you can find a lot of these rubrics here, or my book, Learning to Go. It has rubrics and brainstorming for lots and lots of different types of activities, um, including audio stories and video ones. But here's one. This is a free download. It's a Google Doc, and that's how I share a lot of my work with students, because they can always go and they can save it as a PDF. They can save it as a Microsoft Word document, open, or if you have a Google account, which I say every teacher should have, it just saves so much time. Then you can, and your students have Google accounts. It's free, by the way. All these tools are free. Then you can go and you can edit it yourself. You can make a copy of this and edit this yourself. This is what it looks like with my students. There's this one that some do recently in one of my online courses they're taking. So here, and I've used this in different ways. One of them is create the next summer blockbuster. Take your favorite book. What do you think is going to be the next book? That's going to be like The Hunger Games or The Fault in the Stars. Create a movie trailer for it. Create an stop animation film, create a clay story, create a choose your own adventure. So there's so many ways that you can use this. Create the storyline that goes to this particular advertisement. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can use that storyboard. And if you have it on a Google Doc, it's accessible on any device. And if they have the apps, then they can even access it, and they can offline. They don't need the internet once they have, if they make it to where it's available offline. So you could set that up, and then your students will have all of their handouts and everything. And you can even grade within the platform. They have rubrics. I've created rubrics, and then you can use something called Gubrick. And so it makes life so much easier. Another really great tool for brainstorming that I love with students, that I'm always telling teachers about, is Read, Write, Think. They have so many incredible resources. This is just one of them. But the thing I like about Read, Write, Think is that they are so into what a teacher needs, because your student can go, and if you have computers in every class, then they can go and they can fill out this writing. It's basically a graphic organizer online, and what they're doing, it's called an interactive. These are what they have, thousands of interactives. So great, one of the best sites for teachers. And so what you do is you go and your student can write their name. They can make an autobiography, a mystery, a story, or create your own. But let's say that you don't have where you can send them to the lab and do this or anything. Well, if you click right here, it has a planning sheet. And this planning sheet will give you a nice PDF that looks like this. So whatever they're doing on the computer, you can easily print this out. So if the computers don't work or anything, then it's a very good backup plan, and you don't have to do anything else. I like when websites are very smart like that, because that means that whether I always think you should have a backup, and that's the great thing about writing, is that they can always write with pen and paper if the technology fails. But the great thing is if you print out a few of these planning sheets, or if you even post it up on an LCD projector on the wall, then your students can easily copy this graphic organizer. I think graphic organizers are great ways to really teach the writing process, and there's thousands of them. So you'll find actually within the links that I posted, you'll find thousands of graphic organizers, and it explains what kind of writing it's for. So with some of the sites, that's how I learned how to write and how to teach writing. I worked with a teacher, and she told me, about, of course, there's the Venn diagram and things. And then from there, I started doing research, and I found so many more, like the fish one for problem solving and all of these diagrams. And I just fell in love with graphic organizers. Poplet.com is a way that you can use have a concept map online. It's free. Poplet.com also, you can do a collaborative one, but if you do individual ones, if this is on your iPad, then the students, they don't have to register, and they can add visuals, they can add research. It's really, really nice, and it doesn't even have to be connected to the internet to really add any of these things. There's a bunch of really great oh, wow. Thank you, Peggy. So I'm going to have to add that. I clicked on it, so I'll add that resource. Writing prompts are a great way to get your students to really think and write. Now, in the past, I've shared Plinky, I've shared One Word. All of that will be inside your inside the bookmarks. But what I want to share here is actually different types of writing, because I said how I integrate different types of writing with students. It's really easy to take. And I'm thinking of making a digital interactive calendar that kind of shows this process, like 30 days of writing or something. But what it does is you can take these and put them on an LCD projector, and it's different forms of writing. So one of my favorite sites is actually makebelievescomics.com. And one of the reasons why is because they have comics. It's comic creation sites, so your students can go and they can make comics in 7 different languages. So if you're a language teacher, it's fantastic because they don't necessarily have to do it. But on top of that, they also have printing things. They have what are called writing prompts and challenges. So what they do is they form it in a comic, and students respond to that. So here you're thinking about the conversation between Native Americans and Christopher Columbus, and they have to write the dialogue. So that's smart kind of writing. That's what I like. They have it for science, math, history, lots of topics. It's very easy to go, and you don't have to make it up. So all you have to do is just go to the site, pick the one you want, and either print it out for students or put it on the LCD projector. I like to put everything on an LCD projector. That way I save paper. Students can quickly do this on their device. And plus, then I have it set up to, as soon as they walk in the room, then they either hear the music playing and they see right what this movie is, or they walk in and then they see a comic and then they sit down and they know they have this amount of time. WriteAboutcom is one of the newest sites and platforms that kind of integrates. So if you're thinking of having a blogging or something, you might try WriteAbout.com. It's one of the best sites out there. It's from one of my really good friends who's also an awesome English teacher, who's also an awesome writer. I don't even understand, an illustrator. I don't even know how he happens to do everything he does. But WriteAbout.com has these amazing writing prompts. And right now, actually, John Spencer, who's one of the creators, and then there's also Brad Wilson, I believe. But these are the creators. John Spencer has on his blog right now 20, I think it's 20 different writing prompts just for the holidays. And they're really wonderful. They're matched to the Common Core. And so they're matched with standards as well. So if that's something that you have to worry about, then, well, they already do it for you. See? So I like to show these sites to teachers because then it takes out all the time. It saves you so much time. And, that's what I think is really wonderful about digital resources, is that you get you're able to go. The other thing I like about Write About is actually John Spencer, and I'm putting this inside the chat box. That's probably why you see my eyes looking off in the distance, but he has one of the best Pinterest out there with nothing but digital prompts. So actually, if you wanted to go to the Pinterest, you could find beautifully illustrated um, writing prompts for every single day of the year. It's really amazing. And these were written for parents and students. The great thing, teachers and students, the great thing about Write About is that they have communities. So if you want it, they also, where you can set up your community, you can do assessment through it. You can try it for free. It's a free tool, actually. They also have an app, a Write About app, which is awesome. It's amazing. But the great thing about it is they also have where you can collaborate. So it kind of takes away, since it's a community, you can get with others, students and classes in the community, and you can exchange and comment on each other. The other really great site that I love, and it's one of my favorites, is corndogart.com. She has created, Denise Casano, writing prompt videos. So your students love videos. It's a great way to get students thinking about writing as well. So that's what I mean by change it up. Then they see a video. That's one of the things that got my students to do this year. I know, I don't know why it's called Corn Dog Art. She has visual writing prompts as well. She also has different teaching resources. Her Twitter is at Corn Dog Art, and if you follow her, she just shares some really great writing tools for teachers that are also very, very creative. So it's a free site as well. John Tumblr has another, well, Luke Neff has writingpromptstumblr.com. And this one is also to the Common Core. You'll see Common Core and also these stories. This is what it looks like. Finish the stories. Sometimes at dusk, we could see him out from the hidden interior of the island. For years, we had no idea who he was or what he did until, and then students had to finish the story. It also has photoprompts.tumblr.com, which is John Spencer's original site. And he has some really funny ones. He tends to do very clever ones, like this one that says, Yoda has taken over your Siri. Write down the conversation. You can inspire students to write now with memes. And this is something I've been doing. I've actually started creating memes for students with something called an app called Cheeseburger. So this is one of the ones I use. It's one of the most popular, but you can find out a lot about memes. The app itself doesn't show me anything bad. I mean, haven't done many searches. I'm sure they don't really filter. It's not for school, but it's a great way for you to make memes. So that's something that you could definitely do as well. And so I make memes with Roscoe, my pug. We just did one called Stretch It Out. It says what, stretch it out is like when they're frustrated, what they can see. Another one is called I'm Jelly, which is another word for say I'm jealous. So it could be a good writing prompt. It could be, what are you, when would you say this? I'm jelly. What are you jelly about? But it's also a great way for them to translate, because jelly it's kind of a funny jealousy. It means I'm jealous. And language is changing a lot. I think it's really important that students get to decipher that. Here are some of the ones that I missed. You can go and you can find a lot of them you can make with the meme generator. Students make these memes with these particular things. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of them aren't really, I mean, you can have it where it's just that one and they do it, but some of the sites, they're not really monitored. But it's a great way for you to make some, or to take the ones that are on there. It's a great way to share rules as well. You can get them to do digital storytelling, and that's one of the best ways to get students to write. You can have them create a comic, an audio story. They can do a radio, a soap opera, like the BBC has. They can do video stories. They can make multimedia stories with great tools that I'm about to share with you. They can make storybooks of there's so many ways that they can tell a story. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of free tools out there. Here are a few of my favorites, and they're great for language learners. They get them to read, they get them to write, they get them to listen, they get them to speak, so they practice all the skills. I know some of the examples look very kiddish, But trust me, I've had adults create avatars and create comics. It's the difference between having something very simple as a comic or something like a comic book, which is more like a graphic novel, sort of like Marvel comics. It depends on the examples you present. So I might show them a Garfield comic and have young kids produce a Garfield comic with the Garfield comic generator that's free. You'll see that in the links. Or if I'm working with teenagers or adults, they'll see something like the Spider-Man, like a Spider-Man comic, and it gives me a good time to share my comic books. And then they write something more, and then I give them a list of vocabulary. So if you want them to integrate vocabulary or certain grammar tense, then you just give them that as a checklist, and then they know that that's what you're going to write for and look for. That's what you're going to grade for and look for. Adapt this. It's embeddable. This one has, they can upload their pics. They can draw on the computer. I love that. When they can draw, they can add pictures. They can add voice. It makes like a little video book. That's why I love littlebirdtales.com. It's one of my favorites. ToonDuke.com is another of my favorites. It's great because you can make a comic or you can make a book. Or you can make an avatar. It's really awesome. You can make some really good books about where they can draw. It's really nice. And so these activities are really good for a lot of learners because what you're doing is yeah, I do have a lot of favorites. They're really good because you notice how you're not using the student's voice, you're not using their face, so you're really protecting parents. So when you so when you're sharing this with parents and you're saying, hey, I would like your students to, can I publish their work and all of this, then the parents can see that this is safe. These are safe sites. If you want them to make a digital book, I always share, we just recently did a webinar a couple of days ago. I'll share the links to all the webinars at the end, but Book Creator is one of the best places to really, it's a free app for iOS and Android. It's really awesome, the easiest way to make a digital book. And you can put in a Google App Store, you can put it the bookstore as well. Storybird.com, one of the best resources, and you can choose different, they don't even have to draw this. If you want a quick 15-20 minute writing, have them do storybird.com. It's the easiest, fastest way to get students to write. So how do we continue to create a safe environment? Well, we talked about that a little bit, but I think one of the most important things, I have students do a lot of collaborative writing because it shows them how to, and when I evaluate, I have them evaluate each other. I have them evaluate themselves. They have to give themselves a grade of what they think they would make for their participation, what kind of creativity they felt they added, things like that. And then I have the class or the audience who reads their work, give them an anonymous grade as well. And then I give them a grade with all of that in mind when I assess their work. So it's not that each person will get the same group grade, but I like to have them write with each other and practice writing together. We do chain stories, for example, in Padlet. We do a lot of, we make a collaborative book. We'll take, for example, the comics they create, and we'll take something like a book that we're reading. For example, we might take Pride and Prejudice, and then each pair or of students will work together and they take sections of that particular book, and then we put all of those strips together, and then we have a visual comic about the book. So it ends up being really nice when we do collaborative writing because they see how they can work together. They see how they help each other, and it's really about establishing relationships and really getting them to write together and evaluate each other and keep on the ritual and the practice of that. So that's one way I do it. I do a lot of icebreakers as well, and things to build relationships. So when we do assessments, it's really important that we just, stop the red grading. I try to give my students feedback. So each one of them, I put a goal. Oh, I really like this is what you did. I always start by, this is what I really liked you did. This is what I want you to aim for next time. And it might be something with the grammar. It might say, I want you to practice the, present and give them an example. Usually I'll give them like, they can reach and do their own practice if they want as well. And that's how, and if they do the improvement, then they get a better grade. And that's how it goes. Give them an audience, publish it somewhere. There's lots of great sites to blog. One of my favorites is kidblog.org. It's the easiest way to have kids blog. They don't even need to have an email address. I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. But if you want them to get an audience, there's something called quad blogging, but there's also comments for kids. It's hashtags, or you can go to comments for kids, blogspot.com, find other schools to connect with. So these, before we end, showing you some other really great tools out there. Kidblog.org. You can see here how you just give them, it literally takes me 5 or 10 minutes to set this up, because they have what's called a spreadsheet that you download, and all you have to do, it's an Excel, you can open an Excel. I find that's the easiest way. In one column, and the other column they get passwords. So it's as easy as that. And then all they have to do is go to your site, Kidblog. You can even do it on mine. Go to kidblog.org, Miss Terrell's class, and you'll find how this login is so easy. So they don't need an email, and they're all in one place. So it's really, really nice. Bunsy.com is really nice. They have great apps. They have this new, they're also online. EduBunsy is awesome. They give you classes. It makes it easy to assess. But one of the great things about Bunsy is that they have this new iPad app. It just came out a while ago. What it does is it allows students to, if you have an iPad, it allows them to record, to add stickers. I mean, it's so nice. It's so awesome. NaNoWriMo. Every to be having something for, they have Script Frenzy now, I think. So every month, and they'll give you technology and tools. So NaNoWriMo is a great place to look for writing programs, and they give you technology. So if you don't have a classroom full of technology for the month that you're writing and you're producing and your students are producing, they'll give you that technology. So how cool is that? You can find all the resources today, tons and tons, literally more than 100 resources. If you go to this, this Pearl Tree. So this is called the Inspire Writing. You'll see digital storytelling. You'll see sites for comic books, everything. So everything that I talked about and more, writing prompts. You can see each of those little boxes there. You click on and it has 100 more tools, how to blog, how to do lesson ideas, peer editing. So there you go, all the free resources there. And if you want to get a certificate for attending, then you can always go and download your certificate. It's already up there. Next week, we're going to be doing videos, so we're very, very excited about that. And if you go to the webinars place, so I'm going to go ahead and give you another site. And this site is shellyterrell.com. And then if you go to webinars, you'll see where it says certificate. And that's where you click. And when you do it, then you're going to be able to get your certificate. So thank you for coming. I'm going to show you really quick my book. So you'll be able to go see my beautiful book. I'm so excited. This is the first one that I've actually published that's just recently came out, so I'm super excited. It's great to be a published author. And of course, happy holidays from Moscow and I. He's napping already. He's very lazy pug sometimes. But you can see how I kind of will use pictures and pick collage to go ahead and get Roscoe to go and inspire my students. So here you go. You can see the 30 Goals Challenge book, which is like a workbook. I'm really, really excited. It has the different goals. Oh, it has writing things too. I didn't even notice they did that. But it has little places where you can do personal reflections. I'm very, very excited about this. So thank you so much. Have wonderful holidays. And we will see you next week when we talk about how to teach with videos and some of the new sites that I just found this week on teaching with videos. So thank you so much.